අප ඉතාමත් ගෞරවයෙන් යුතුව පිළිගනු ලබනවා. අපගේ පර්යේෂණ සැසියේ මෙවර තේමාව වන්නේ දකුණු ආසියානු සමාජයන්හි සමකාලීන අවිනිශ්චිතතාවයන් යන්නයි. පර්යේෂණ සැසියේ සියලුම ඉදිරිපත් කිරීම ප්‍රධාන වශයෙන්ම ශ්‍රී ලංකාවට සහ දකුණු ආසියාවේ රටවලට බලපාන වත්මන් අවිනිශ්චිතතාවයන්ට සම්බන්ධ වන අතර මෙම අවස්ථාවට සහභාගී වන සියලුම ඉදිරිපත් කරන්නන් අපගේ පර්යේෂණ සැසිය වෙනුවෙන් නැවත වාරයක් ඉතාමත් ගෞරවයෙන් යුතුව පිළිගනු ලබනවා.
அனைவருக்கும் காலை வணக்கம். கொழும்பு பல்கலைக்கழகத்தின் சமூகவியல் துறையின் 2022 ஆண்டுக்கான சர்வதேச ஆய்வு கருத்தரங்கத்திற்கு உங்கள் அனைவரையும் அன்புடன் வரவேற்கின்றோம். ஆய்வு கருத்தரங்கத்தின் கருப்பொருளானது தெற்காசிய சமூகங்களில் சமகால நிச்சயமற்ற தன்மைகள் என்பதாகும். எங்களின் அனைத்து ஆய்வு முன்வைப்புகளும் முக்கியமாக இலங்கை மற்றும் தெற்காசியாவில் உள்ள நாடுகளை பாதிக்கும் தற்போதைய நிச்சயமற்ற தன்மைகளுடன் தொடர்புடையவையாக காணப்படுகின்றன. அனைத்து முன்வைப்பாளர்களையும் ஆய்வு கருத்தரங்கத்திற்கு அன்புடன் வரவேற்கின்றோம்.
Foremostly, we will pay tribute to our motherland with the national.
ජාතික ගීය සමගින් අපගේ පර්යේෂණ සැසියේ සමාරම්භය මෙතන සිට සනිටුවන් කරමු.
நிகழ்வினை தேசிய கீதம் இசைத்தவுடன் ஆரம்பிக்கின்றோம்.
Thank you everyone for your attention. I would like to invite Professor Farzana Hanifa, Head Department of Sociology, Faculty of Arts, University of Colombo, to formally welcome you to the Symposium.
බෙහෙවින්ම ස්තුතියි ඔබ සියලුම දෙනාට. ඊළඟට අපගේ පර්යේෂණ සැසිය සඳහා ඔබ සියලුම දෙනා පිළිගැනීම වෙනුවෙන් පිළිගැනීමේ කතාව ඉදිරිපත් කිරීමට කොළඹ විශ්වවිද්‍යාලීය ශාස්ත්‍ර පීඨයේ සමාජ විද්‍යා අධ්‍යනාංශයේ අංශාධිපතිනි මහාචාර්ය ෆර්සානා හනිෆා මහත්මියට අප ඉතාමත් ගෞරවයෙන් යුතුව ආරාධනා කර සිටිනවා.
Thank you. Acting Vice Chancellor.
அடுத்ததாக கொழும்பு பல்கலைக்கழகத்தின் சமூகவியல் துறையின் சமூகவியல் துறையினுடைய துறைத் தலைவர் பேராசிரியர் ஃபர்சானா ஹனீஃபா அவர்களை அன்புடன் அழைத்து நிற்கின்றோம் வரவேற்புரையினை நிகழ்த்துவதற்காக.
Good morning. Acting Vice Chancellor, Professor MPP Dharmadasa, Acting Dean, Professor Chandana Aludge, Chair of the Department of Sociology, Senior Professor Premakumara De Silva, paper presenters, and all participants. I am pleased to welcome you all to the Sociology Department's International Research Symposium, organized this year under the theme of Contemporary Uncertainties in South Asia. We are living in unprecedented times as a country, and we are aware that this symposium is being held while many of our students and staff are experiencing great difficulties in their daily lives. As a department, we are committed to nurturing a research culture within the university that will critically explore pressing social problems. Today, our keynote speaker, Dr. Pradeep Pires, will speak to us on the topic of the economic crisis and the necessity of an alternative political space, and contribute to the ongoing broader discussion in society regarding the country's future political direction. Dr. Pires is an eminent local scholar with an extensive list of publications, including a recent book entitled Catch-all Parties and the Party Voter Nexus in Sri Lanka, published by Springer. As a department, we believe that knowledge production should be encouraged as a contribution towards understanding our country's past and its current predicament. It is important that academics provide the language and the framing regarding economic and political developments in our country, particularly but not limited to the recent past, to bring about a greater, more equitable and just society for all. This process requires knowledge production from a variety of perspectives and vibrant debate among those holding such different perspectives. We therefore take pride in providing this opportunity for lecturers and students to showcase their work and participate in academic debates. While the culture of publication is alive in this country, the culture of debate, where scholars engage with and challenge one another's work, still remains dormant. It is hoped that events of this nature will encourage greater debate. This year, we received 66 abstracts and 36 papers will be presented in parallel sessions today. It is encouraging to see the interest among mostly younger scholars to present their work. We hope that events of this nature will provide them a forum where not just their research skills, but also their ability to ask the most relevant and pressing research questions and their interest in engaging with one another, as well as with established scholarship, will be developed further. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam. Next, we cordially invite Senior Professor Premakumara De Silva, University of Colombo, to address the gathering.
ඔබට බෙහෙවින්ම ස්තුතියි මහාචාර්යතුමියනි. මීළඟට පර්යේෂණ සැසිය ඇමතීම සඳහා කොළඹ විශ්වවිද්‍යාලයේ සමාජ විද්‍යා අධ්‍යනාංශයේ ජ්‍යෙෂ්ඨ මහාචාර්ය ප්‍රේමකුමාර ද සිල්වා මහතාට අප ඉතාමත් ගෞරවයෙන් යුතුව ආරාධනා කර සිටිනවා.
உமது மனமார்ந்த நன்றிகள். அடுத்ததாக கொழும்பு பல்கலைக்கழகத்தின் சமூகவியல் துறையின் சிரேஷ்ட பேராசிரியர் பிரேமகுமார டி சில்வா அவர்களை உரையாற்றுவதற்காக அன்புடன் அழைத்து நிற்கின்றோம்.
Professor De Silva, you're muted.
Right. Can you hear me now? Yes.
Yes, yes.
Right. Good morning to all of you. Thank you for coming for the annual Research Symposium of Department of Sociology. Acting Vice Chancellor, Acting Dean, heads of our department, heads of other departments, our colleagues at the department, and all the invitees, distinguished guests. It is indeed a great pleasure for me to address you at the inauguration ceremony of the International Research Symposium of our department this year. This conference theme is Contemporary Uncertainties in South Asian Society. Certainly, we are passing through a serious uncertainty period, not just in Sri Lanka, not just in South Asia, but our world as a whole has been facing many uncertainties and risks. Within sociology, risk and uncertainty has become a major interest, mostly notably with the publication of Ulrich Beck, Risk Society in 1992. Actually, Beck wrote this book in 1987 in German language, and that was translated into English in 1992. So after that publication, actually, it was really welcoming work, and he was really setting up a ground for theorizing understand that risk we are, or uncertainty we are really going to face. Risk defined by Beck, I quote, and insecurities induced and introduced by modernization itself, unquote. The risks and hazards, the risk society, are different than in the industrialized society. They are more widespread and very serious. What is particular about the modern risk society is that the hazards of risk do not remain restricted to one country only. In the age of globalization, these risks affect all countries and all social classes. They have global, not merely personal consequences. Industrial society has created many new dangers of risk unknown in previous ages. The risks associated with global warming are one example. In the present era of industrialization, the nature of risk has undergone tremendous changes. Earlier, there was no absence of risk, but these risks were natural dangers or hazards. There were earthquakes, there were epidemics, there were famine, and there were floods. But risks in the modern society are created by our own social development, by the development of science and technology. Sometimes we fail to ascertain the risk involved in particular aspects of technology. For instance, no one quite knows what risks are involved in the production of, let's say, genetically modified food. So, theorizing actually identification of the risk that we have been really facing all over the world, actually sociologists have played a greater role in understanding such uncertainties, risks that we involve in our day-to-day life. Not just actually merely Sri Lanka, of course, we are really living in a very serious situation, serious conditions, both politically, economically, socially. Of course, not to talk about environmentally. So the nature is society, and society is also nature. Nature has been politicized. With the results of that, natural scientists, like social scientists, have had their work politicized. So we are living in the world where politics is so important. Now our involvement in politics for a better society is required ever than before. So therefore, I think this particular gathering or conference, annual conference, are very important to discuss particular issues that we are encountering, facing, in the time of pandemic or post-pandemic situation. So therefore, I'm sure today's keynote speaker, Dr. Pradeep, will elaborate on some of the themes that I have also highlighted in this particular intervention. With that note, let me say this. The Annual Research Symposium for our department is an important event because it brings into conducted by our academics of the department and other colleagues in the field of humanities and social science, and facilitates the exchange of ideas and the establishment of interdisciplinary links and dialogues at both local and global level. Organizing of this annual conference was a team effort, and many persons in the department contributed to make this event a reality. I would like to give a personal thank to our head of department and the chair of the conference, the secretary, the organizing committee, and the editorial committee. Their tremendous contribution to make this event success. I should also take this opportunity to appreciate those who have contributed tremendously to make this event a success. I would like to thank everyone who have submitted abstract for the conference. Without that contribution, actually, this event would be meaningless. And I would like to wish them the very best in their future endeavors. I'm sure you will enjoy the academically inspired event of this nature organized by our department. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. We invite Professor Chandana Aludge, Acting Dean of the Faculty of Arts, to speak a few words on behalf of Senior Professor Lasantha Manawadu, Dean, Faculty of Arts.
ඔබට බෙහෙවින්ම ස්තුතියි ජ්‍යෙෂ්ඨ මහාචාර්යතුමනි. ඊළඟට ශාස්ත්‍ර පීඨයේ පීඨාධිපති ජ්‍යෙෂ්ඨ මහාචාර්ය ලසන්ත මානවඩු මහතා නියෝජනය කරමින් පර්යේෂණ සැසිය ඇමතීම සඳහා අපගේ වැඩ බලන පීඨාධිපතිතුමන් වන මහාචාර්ය චන්දන අලුත්ගේ මහතාට අප ඉතාමත් ගෞරවයෙන් යුතුව ආරාධනා කර සිටිනවා.
உங்களுக்கு நமது மனமார்ந்த நன்றிகள். அடுத்த நிகழ்வாக கொழும்பு பல்கலைக்கழகத்தின் கலைப்பீடத்தின் பீடாதிபதி சிரேஷ்ட பேராசிரியர் லசந்த மானவடு அவர்கள் சார்பாக சில வார்த்தைகளை பேசுமாறு கலைப்பீடத்தின் பதில் பீடாதிபதி பேராசிரியர் சந்தன அலுத்கே அவர்களை அன்புடன் அழைத்து நிற்கின்றோம்.
Thank you very much for the introduction and the invitation to appear before all of you.
Professor Aludge, you're muted.
My mic is on.
Apologies, sorry.
Right, okay. Can you hear? Am I audible?
Yes.
Okay, right. Thank you.
I can hear you.
Yeah. Thank you very much for the invitation to be at this very important event at the University of Colombo. First of all, let me say, so I'm taking welcome Professor M.P.D. Dharmadasa, Acting Vice Chancellor, Chair Professor Premkumar Silva, Head of the Department, Professor Farzana Hanifa, and the keynote speaker, Dr. Pradeep Piris, and the academic staff of Sociology Department and University of Colombo, all presenters, organizers, and ladies and gentlemen. I'm privileged to be here before you today at this very important event at University of Colombo. These are very colorful events. Normally, even today it's a colorful event. I could see, though we are not meeting each other in person, on the Zoom platform, I could see a colorful event has been organized. And it is indeed very happy to see the theme of the seminar. It's uncertainty. So now we all are actually thinking about what's likely to happen in the near future. So individual levels, organizations, at country levels, many are actually wondering what is going to happen to Sri Lanka. So in that sense, this is a very timely theme, I would say. So then I'm certain that all the presenters would provide the light or guide to the Sri Lankans, and as well as anyone who is interested in Sri Lanka's situation, in order to think about good policies to overcome all these difficulties. And again, this is a very challenging time. And at this challenging time, to organize an activity of this nature is a commendable effort, I would say, because a lot of energy, time, resources are needed, and everything I could see that very well connected, interconnected, and organized. So then all the participants will have a nice day of activities after this inauguration. Thank you very much for that. And this also coincides with Sri Lanka, Columbia University, 100 years of existence. And in that sense, this is again a very important event. And Department of Sociology is actually taking the lead in taking Columbia University's name to the world through these type of timely events. And thank you very much for that. So it is, I heard the statistics, a significant number of abstracts and papers are going to be presented today. So that is actually a very heartening situation, that to see that a lot of interesting research and presenting papers. So this event has actually provoked a lot of ideas, researchers to present their work, and then everybody who are connected to this event will be have these ideas, and then they could actually think about further, and then develop all these ideas in order to make the future more certain to Sri Lankans and the Sri Lankan society. So having said that, thank you very much, the Department of Sociology and the head and the academic staff and the organizers for organizing this event with a lot of challenges. And I wish all of you all the very best, and this event will be a successful event. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. We invite Professor MPP Dharmadasa, Acting Vice Chancellor, to address the gathering in the absence of Senior Professor HD Karunaratne, Vice Chancellor, University of Colombo.
ඔබට බෙහෙවින්ම ස්තුතියි මහාචාර්යතුමනි. මීළඟට කොළඹ විශ්වවිද්‍යාලයේ උපකුලපති ජ්‍යෙෂ්ඨ මහාචාර්ය එච්.ටී. කරුණාරත්න මහතා නියෝජනය කරමින් පර්යේෂණ සැසිය ඇමතීම සඳහා අපගේ වැඩ බලන උපකුලපතිතුමන් වන මහාචාර්ය එම්.පී.පී. ධර්මදාස මහතාට අප ඉතාමත් ගෞරවයෙන් යුතුව ආරාධනා කර සිටිනවා.
நன்றி. கொழும்பு பல்கலைக்கழகத்தின் துணைவேந்தரான சிரேஷ்ட பேராசிரியர் HD கருணாரத்ன அவர்கள் சார்பாக பதில் உபவேந்தர் பேராசிரியர் MPP தர்மதாச அவர்களை உரையாற்றுவதற்காக அன்புடன் அழைத்து நிற்கின்றோம்.
Acting Dean, Faculty of Arts, Professor Chandana Aludge, Chair Professor, Department of Sociology, Professor Hema Kumari De Silva, Head Department of Sociology, Professor Wasina Hanifa, keynote speaker Dr. Pradeep Piris, invitees, head of the departments, professors, conference chairs, staff members, paper presenters, ladies and gentlemen. A very good morning to all of you, and thank you very much for organizing the International Research Symposium 2022 by the Department of Sociology on the theme of contemporary uncertainties in South Asian societies. I believe that this is a timely theme. That is, in one way, South Asia have a strong competitive advantage, particularly in world trade, business processes, and tourism. However, many South Asian countries experience lower investment flows, disruption in supply chain, setback in human resource accumulation, as well as substantial increase in debt level due to the COVID pandemics and economic downturn. On the other way, the problem of South Asian region are different from those in developed world. The region is characterized by rapidly changing socio-economic scenarios, fast increase in urbanizations, change in dietary patterns, and decrease in mortality from infection diseases. Droughts, cyclones, floods, and rural poverty are also common in the regions. The lack of investment in human development indicators, namely education, health, has contributed to underdevelopment of these regions. This makes them vulnerable to the negative consequences of globalizations. In South Asia, social exclusions, often due to gender, disability, age, economics, and education status, as well as caste, religions, and ethnicity, is deeply rooted and has a significant influence on social and economic outcome in the regions. The nations formed in South Asia include Afghanistan, Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, the Maldives, Nepal, Pakistan, and Sri Lanka. In 2021, the South Asian region represented 3% of world area, 21% of world populations, 4.5% of world economy. Additionally, the diaspora of South Asia spread across the world are estimated to be over 43 million. For long, South Asia has been an epicenter of conflicts, including ethnic, political, religious, and social fronts. The region has multicultural, multi-ethnic, multi-religious societies, and this has given rise to the variety of issues and clashes. In this context, I hope that this symposium will be a platform for researchers to discuss and develop evidence-based solutions, particularly in their sociological concerns. I hope you will have a most productive day of interesting and stimulation discussions. I sincerely wish that this conference will be a great success, not only a chance to share knowledge and experience only in contemporary uncertain South Asian societies, but also at the beginning of the long and fruitful cooperation and friendship among fellow researchers who will shape our future. Concluding, on behalf of the University of Colombo, I would like to congratulate the organizing committee for their tremendous effort in organizing this symposium, and I wish everyone a success and fruitful symposium. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. The next event is the keynote address. I would like to invite Dr. Tharindi Udalagama, Chair of the Symposium 2022 and Senior Lecturer, Department of Sociology, University of Colombo, to introduce the keynote speaker.
ඔබට බෙහෙවින්ම ස්තුතියි මහාචාර්යතුමනි. මීළඟට පාර්යේෂණ සැසියේ ප්‍රධාන ආරාධිත දේශනය වෙනුවෙන් අදාළ දේශකයා ඔබ වෙත හඳුන්වා දීම සඳහා 2022 පාර්යේෂණ සැසියේ ප්‍රධානී සහ කොළඹ විශ්වවිද්‍යාලයේ සමාජ විද්‍යාඥාංශයේ ජ්‍යෙෂ්ඨ කතිකාචාර්ය ආචාර්ය තරින්දි උදලාගම මෙනවියට අප ඉතාමත් ගෞරවයෙන් යුතුව ආරාධනා කර සිටිනවා.
மனமார்ந்த நன்றிகள். அடுத்த நிகழ்வானது சிறப்புரையாகும். சர்வதேச ஆய்வு கருத்தரங்கம் 2022 தலைவரும் கொழும்பு பல்கலைக்கழகத்தின் சமூகவியல் துறையின் சிரேஷ்ட விரிவுரையாளருமான கலாநிதி தருந்தி உதலாகம அவர்களை சிறப்பு விருந்தினரை அறிமுகப்படுத்துவதற்காக அழைத்து நிற்கின்றோம்.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Acting Vice Chancellor, Professor MPP Dharmadasa, Acting Dean, Professor Chandana Luke, Chair of the Department of Sociology, Senior Professor Premakumar De Silva, Head of the Department of Sociology, Professor Farzana Hanifa, presenters, guests, colleagues of the University of Colombo, and dear students. It is my great pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker today, Dr. Pradeep Thiris, who is a dear colleague of our faculty and also a friend. Dr. Pradeep Thiris is the head of department and senior lecturer at the Department of Political Science and Public Policy, University of Colombo. He is also the director and treasurer of the Social Scientists Association at Colombo. He obtained his PhD in political science from the University of Colombo, Sri Lanka in 2014 under the MUFU and Norma Fellowship Scheme of the University of Oslo, Norway. He is currently a fellow in the research consortium Reversing the Gaze towards post-comparative area studies led by the universities of Basel, Zurich, and Edinburgh, with collaborators from Europa, Asia, Africa, and North America. Dr. Thiris is most recently an author of Catch-all Parties and Party Voter Nexus in Sri Lanka, published with Palgrave Macmillan. He is also the editor of Is the Curse Worse Than the Disease? Reflections on Phobic Governance in Sri Lanka, published by the Center for Policy Alternatives. He has also published on a wide array of subjects ranging from electoral politics to opinion polling, gender, liberal economy, and the democratic discourse in Sri Lanka. He is a leading survey researcher in Sri Lanka with over 2 decades of experience and is the current country representative of the World Association for Public Opinion Research and Democracy Barometer. His current teaching and research engagements focus on political theory, the philosophy of science, quantitative research, democracy and democratization, and research in the social sciences. It is such a great honor for us to have you with us, Pradeep, and I would now invite you to take over and give us your keynote speech. Thank you.
Thank you, Tharindi, Dr. Udalagama, for your kind introduction. I consider this a great privilege, this invitation to speak at such an important international conference. Professor NPP Dharmadasa, Acting Vice Chancellor, Professor Chandana Aludke, and Senior Professor Premakumar De Silva, the Chair Sociology Department, and Professor Farzana Hanifa, who is the head of the Sociology Department, and all my colleagues at the faculty as well as the presenters. Very good morning to all of you. I think Professor Premakumar laid an interesting, very good foundation for this, what I prepared to speak. So uncertainties in South Asia, on the one hand, there is a urge, there is a common sense that we need to address them, we need to avoid them.
the crises, the uncertainties, the issues needs to be like addressed. But whereas our region has but I guess across the world in general, the politics may not necessarily see the same way. So they may find that uncertainties as opportunities, and they may sustain them, or they may not bother about eradicating them or averting them, instead of bringing their politics to address them, because they will find more benefit, like political benefit, the power advantages, sustaining uncertainties than eradicating or averting them. So on that, I would like to begin my presentation. Yes, hope all of you can see my presentation. So I basically plan to spend like next few minutes, maybe 30 minutes, in terms of questioning the political basis of current economic crisis. Of course, this crisis is not something like something that we need to really present it to an audience, because everyone aware of it and everyone is experiencing it. So my objective is to discuss the politics beneath this crisis that basically has produced this crisis as well as sustained the crisis. So, and then with that, I would like to argue the necessity for an alternative political space. And in fact, I will stress the fact that alternative political space is not an option that for us to debate and discuss. It is a must for us to come out of this crisis, as well as in order to prevent repetition of this current crisis. I deliberately picked this picture, the photographs that basically depicts the real foundation of our Sri Lankan crisis. What you see is the Kalani River, Kalani Bridge, and then you can see the Nelum Pokuna, and of course, what you see is long lines of petrol queues. I will not discuss in detail about the economic crisis. We all know that. For the first time in our history, post-colonial, post-independent history, Sri Lanka has defaulted its debts, in fact, calling the bankruptcy. And that has led to kind of a massive inflation, particularly the food inflation. And we are in the club of the countries with the highest inflation rates, and people are migrating, leaving this country, and that will have a major effect for the country's economy, and as well as the country's intellectual future. And I'm sure that the Vice Chancellor, the senior professors are well aware about, how much we are losing and at what rate that we are losing the bright scholars due to this crisis, right? And also that's about the intellectual community, but poor, the poor of the poor, they risk their lives to cross the very dangerous seas to look for, go and settle in other countries. So you have the newspaper report that says the number of boats that they have, Sri Lankan Navy has captured, numbers be increasing, and particularly Australian government, they are providing special assistance to Sri Lankan security forces to like prevent that, right? And then now we are in a phase of economic reform, painful economic reform. We already started experiencing it, and this is going to get worse. Also, I would like to show you this data that I have got from a recent survey conducted by Social Indicators Center for Policy Alternatives. You see that like 36.4% of the Sri Lankan households say that at least one of their members have lost their employment due to the crisis. And you see that like 42% of Sri Lankans claim that they have reduced the portion or the size of the meal or the number of meals each and per day. I think we don't need the statistics. If we talk to some of our students here in Colombo, I mean, they will confirm this, like kind of a difficulties they're experiencing. Most of the students, they share the breakfast and some, they skip their meals. So this is the crisis that we are talking about. And this is a tragedy, meaning to say that we knew this coming. It has been making, and we all knew that, but we failed to avert it. So, I mean, if you look at the recent statistics and also like recent presentation from governor of the central bank, he basically laid out like the reason behind the current crisis. Like he claimed that like officials knew this and they have informed the politician, but yet politician did not take the necessary actions to avert this. I mean, back in 2020, even the IMF have warned us that we are heading to a kind of a death unsustainability. I'm not saying that we need to really go by the IMF wisdom, but yet now, since the current rescue plan is IMF, I mean, at that time, people did not ignore that. Not only they did not ignore, but they also like continue with their usual policies that has worsened the Sri Lankan crisis. Like, for example, the tax cuts and this new employment, right? And also, like, despite having very serious issue with the forex, we end up with paying certain loans. We all knew this, but yet we did not take any actions. I mean, this is not something new. I managed to like pick some of the old newspapers from the web. You see that like we have never been since independence functioning on a certain like not uncertain kind of politics. We were like living in uncertainty. I think it has been more permanent than the random or unexpected. Then who's to blame? Because this is very important to get like for me to venture into my research. I mean, some people blame Mr. Gotabaya Rajapaksa and his government. What you see in his election poster at the top, and then of course, like the government, irrespective of the political parties who ruled the country last 70 odd years, are also to be blamed for like because none of them had policies that could have reversed this situation. And of course, the bureaucrats, the experts, the professionals, the business community, and of course, like our friends, academics, right? And we also equally to be blamed, and we played a key role, maybe not in this government, but it's, I mean, various governments. And of course, it's interesting to figure out like what was the role that we played there. Does it play the academic role, or we basically played the bad policies of the politician for personal gain. And also, like people blame the people at large, they are also to be blamed because they, in fact, voted these politicians. So they are. So what we have is what they have choose. In democracy, particularly in the representative democracy, you have representatives. We often call them as the rulers in this democratic regime, and we have citizens. And we basically appoint rulers for like certain period of time to rule the country. And they use that legitimacy to like an exercise authority to deliver governance. And responsible government model that liberal democracy is founded on expect voters, the citizens will evaluate the delivery, governance, performance of the rulers, and they decide whether to vote them in or whether we basically vote them out of the office. But clearly, what you see, like over the last at least 40 years, there are so many politicians, so many leaders. They have managed to get into parliament irrespective of their performance. So there is a serious question with regard to the way the citizens or where the assessment of governance take place, and also the way the voting take place. Political representation. How we choose our representatives, what we expect them to represent, and what they represent, like saying that they're representing their citizens. There's a huge crisis in that. One of the founding scholars in political capability of making citizens' voices, opinion, and perspective presence in the public political representation is the activity of making citizens' voices, opinion, perspectives presence in the public policymaking process. And also democracy democracy assumes that through regular elections, the citizens have capacity to hold their representative accountable, right? Since there are regular elections and competitive political parties, there is a general consensus that citizens in democracies do engage in government through their political representative. This is, I'm sure we don't need theory to say that this is not really the case. Ole Twink is one of the Norwegian scholars, Swedish Norwegian scholars. In his book on rethinking popular representation, he argues that this is not only the flawed assumption, but is also a root cause of the stagnation of democracies in post-colonial world, right? What you see on the right side is a paper clip from Minister Bandula Gunawardena just before 2019 election. I mean, but he claims like having like if Mahinda Rajapaksa put forward even a coconut husk, so that can really like win an election. It's so ironic, the Gotabaya government has proven that but Mr. Bandula Gunawardena is Dr. Bandula Gunawardena is right. So these things will basically demand basically demand us to examine the crisis of political representation, the nature of the party system and how they function, and the electoral system being built, the electoral strategies of politicians, and also rationale of citizens. These are very important questions to understand the nature of political representation and hence understand the nature of political culture in the country. I'm again quoting Ole Tunkist, observes a connection between the flawed representation and the depoliticization of public issues and interest, which he thinks is the root cause of the current stagnation of democracy in post-colonial world. So this particular political culture has led us to a depoliticized, politics or citizenship in countries like ours. Now I'm getting to my research, some of the findings which I will be using as a basis for my this is based on my PhD field research that I did sometime. This study is basically founded on semi-ethnographic research that I have conducted in 3 electorates, Dadigama, Valigama, and Kalani electorates. And I also employed the theoretical framework of Pierre Bourdieu's, because I wanted to really transcend this structure agency, objective subjective dichotomies in my research, because most of the people understand the representation in a very much of a structuralist point of view. So I wanted to transcend that. But at the same time, I also want to be responding to structuralist theories like social cleavage theory of Lipset, Rocken, and also economist theory of democracy put forward by Anthony Downs, which we famously refer to as a rational choice theory. So I was trying to respond to those theoretical framework as well in my my research design. So basically, my research is in this arena of political sociology. So what you see is what we being told and how things actually happens. No, how this party and voter connected and how they are related to each other. The purple structure, which I have basically borrowed from. I got this structure mainly from James Jupp, who has done a very extensive chapter on political parties and party organizations. We expect the parties to function as autonomous institutions, and they have various branches, various ancillaries. They have various levels of leadership, and there is a very clear communication between the party leaders to the average citizens. So it's a kind of a two-way communication channel where the people can really communicate their desires, interests to the those who are up, and also the parties can also communicate their policies and the ideologies that they are representing to their electorate and their supporters. But in how it really happens, this is exactly what the Orthodox party literature do expect. If you see the classical party theories, so this is the model that they were founded on. But in practice, not only in Sri Lanka, of course, at least for South Asia, parties function not only as the autonomous institution, they function as a kind of loosely knitted network of political actors. And they are not necessarily that those networks are based on political ideologies or political program. They can be on various other networks, the caste networks, religious networks, the family network. But the parties basically bring them together in order to build their voter base. So as a result, the very nature of the functioning of political parties have very problematic characteristics, which is very different. We keep arguing that the Sri Lankan party system is problematic. We need to reform it. We need to change things, and we blame politicians. But the thing is, the very foundation of our political party system is flawed, is crooked. So it basically function on characteristics like personally dependent party organization. I mean, what you see on this picture, like how Rajapaksa being, represented, like no one print their political, leaflet or the poster without the having that face of Mr. Mahinda Rajapaksa. But this is, I also needs to flag this out here. Most of the reference and the pictures are very much directed towards the Rajapaksa family and the Rajapaksa government. I want to really emphasize the fact that this is not necessarily unique to their politics. This has been the political nature, culture of this country right from the beginning. The only difference I would say that the Rajapaksas have managed to made it more efficient and optimize that political culture for power gain. Please don't misunderstand that all the problems started like in 2005. No, this has been the case for long period, because in my PhD I studied these villages, these electorates from 1930s to the recent times. So the story says that we have the fundamental issue in our party organization, and not only at the national level parties are dependent on individual, but at the local level also parties are depending on the local individuals. And we think that there are party officers, but often the party officers belongs to that person's either their personal property or otherwise the property of one of his good friends. So it's not that there's a party function at the local level as an autonomous unit. Often when the electorate organizer leave the party or change if the party leadership change the electoral organizer, what will happen is all the details and the structures and the information on that party organization at that local level disappears. So new person will have to start it again. So it's very much of a personal. So so this has very carefully and very shrewdly has developed influence a kind of a party voter strategy, not in the realm of the public sphere, but in the realm of very much of a private sphere, in the sense the parties offers more personal gains, the private interest, rather than the interest of larger groups. And when I use these parties, I'm referring to the political parties that represent at least 95% of the Sri Lankan electorates. There may be one or two political parties may not really function the same way. Of course, that's why they are not in the parliament, right? And then party organization is extremely feeble. You don't have those structures. You have the party organizer, his wife is a secretary, and maybe daughters are in the different level. This can be seen at the macro level and also at the more micro level as well, right? So therefore, you don't really groom new leadership. You don't basically let the your electorate to be more political. You don't let the electorate to influence the party party policies. So what you do is basically you maintain a system where those individuals make their cost-benefit analysis and they come up with the policies that will improve their electoral gain, and they bargain that with voters in return. I mean, return of patronage, right? And this also lead to that mobilizing these parties don't mobilize support for parties. what happened is the parties, this party functioning, they mobilize support for individual. So for the electoral support. I mean, as a result, when a person leave one place and go to another place, he can still, or maybe when the politician cross the party, he can still retain a good chunk of his electorates, not necessarily because of his policies are so popular. It's simply because the way he connected with his electorate. And then the election strategies are not necessarily based on, I mean, they're often not based on the policy proposals. For example, like, every party they print election manifestos. And if you compare them, they're hardly different. And I was told, like in some of the African countries, where the parties basically cut and paste the electoral manifestos and then put forward. It's not not something surprising, because neither the party leaders nor the electorates read those manifestos, because we will anyway vote. And there is a electoral rationale of the voters that, they don't expect parties to perform the policy projects. They basically expect parties to provide their material needs, which I will discuss in my next slide. And also this new trend in political parties across the world, which we refer to as a cartelization of political parties. In the sense, rather than what I meant by cartelization, where the parties are becoming closer to each other, and they are capturing their basically their main aim is to capture the state. So they maintain, even though they present themselves as opposition parties, but there is a consensus that they want to retain the hegemony over the state. So as a result, parties provide linkage for citizens or the voters to the state patronage, right? And parties' main aim is to capture those state resources, state institutions, right? And they play politics in such a way that endgame is beneficial for both opposition as well as the ruling party. I mean, what we have seen the post-Aragalaya, dynamics inside the parliament. One thing was very clear, that both the opposition as well as the ruling parties, they want to make sure that secure their place from those young people who were in the Aragalaya. So the first thing what they did was they basically diluted the Aragalaya and got the politics back to parliament, and now they play their usual game. So this has also, the way the parties function has also determined, has also really shaped the way the citizens behave, right? What we see in Sri Lanka and then most of the South Asia, we hardly act as citizens. We act as largely voters, right? Because the way our democracy functions. So our rationality is very much of a rationality of voters than the rationality of citizens. Because the citizens, I mean, since the beginning of the modernity, I mean, you become citizen by being an active member in the public sphere. So you expect for a common political program for the benefit of a common good. But whereas the voters, they're concerned about their the private gain, the individual benefits, right? And usually there are two aspects matters to them when they decide in their votes. One is the material benefit. The other one is the material interest. The other one is the identity interest. Because the classical political party theory says that where the party put forward ideas, voters put forward interest, when the ideas of the party and the interests of the people, when those things match, that's how the party vote nexus happen. But similarly, what happens is like, the voters demand like, they want to meet these two identities, the two interests, the material as well as the identity interest, right? But interesting thing is, often the main parties who often lead the main coalition to form government, they hardly offer or cater to this identity interest. Uh, Instead of catering to identity interest directly, what they do is they basically use material benefits in order to address the identity interest. Give you example. Now, for example, like we expect that classical cleavage theory believe like things cleavage is like caste differences or maybe ethnic differences will form that political rivalry. But when you look at the Sri Lankan electorate, you see that like often politicians manage to like win votes from all classes. I'll give you one example. In Valigama, in Matara, Montegu Jayavikrama being the most powerful politician there, who played a very powerful role throughout the early UNP regimes. He is from Karawa, but in Valigama, only 16% of the Valigama population belong to Karawa. But he managed to get a lot of votes from Govigama as well. So basically, he used his land, he used his plantation, and also he coined a new term called Govikara, in the sense like, Montegu Jayavikrama's brother was married to a Candian Govigama woman. So there was a kind of a Govikara, category where he managed to somehow infiltrate into other caste as well. So the main lubricant that they use is the patronage, which smoothing the connectivity between the party and the voters, right? And also often the main parties who form those electoral coalitions, because I use the term the main parties like UNP, the SLFP, now SJB and SLPP. Now they hardly offer distinctive policy programs. And during the time of when the racism, the nationalism is the key, both parties, like both camps, basically feed into that. They appeal into those bases. And since 1994, there is no difference between neoliberal principles. Not only the UNP, but successive SLFP and the SLPP government, they happily use that. So there's hardly they offer any new ideological or policy difference. So as a result, people will have to assess the delivery of the politician, delivery of certain government, mainly based on how efficient they distribute material benefits, right? And people understand that. And also people got used to this particular window of opportunity, that election period, to realize their material needs, job opportunities, promotions, the school admission, various other, welfare schemes. And often in a Western literature, the patronage seems to be seen as a kind of something negative and anti-democratic. But to be frank, in Sri Lanka, the patronage also have paved social mobility. And if not with the patronage, most of the intermediate classes or caste groups may not be able to come up in the social ladder and get jobs in capital cities. Now, for example, if you go around different government departments, you know that okay, this particular department, the staffs are from this particular area. I mean, our university, there are a lot of support staffs are from one particular district. if you go to prison, most of the prison officers are like staffs are from Kegol. If you go to the port authority, the Colombo port, there are people, the majority of people from a particular area. So this is how people realize their material interest as well. So therefore, so there is a logic, there's a rationality that we have cultivated over 70 years of democratization in Sri Lanka, where the democracy is more than a selection of policies. It's very much of like, attaining so in that formula, in that context, even politicians don't find appearing for politics, appearing for ideological politics is attractive, because those who appear for like in a particular policy program or particular identity program, they may not receive that much of votes, because people expect the ones who can really like deliver the maximum in the minimum amount of time. I mean, that's one of the reasons why when politicians are in opposition, there's so much pressure from the electorate to asking their leader to cross over to the government party, because they expect that, right? So in this system, you don't see that politician has the rationale or logic to change the system, because people demand them to be more patronage based, more material based, representatives represent their material interest in the legislature than their ideas or their policies. Also, on the other hand, people continue to see that that's the only way that you can realize those needs, and they continue to really feed each other, right? So as a result, this culture depoliticized our society, and they hardly bothered about issues. That is why what we've been seeing this crisis in making. One of the famous sociologists here, the Professor Jonathan Spencer, I think the teacher of Professor Prem Kumar, in his book, he made a very interesting statement that about caste. He said, caste always present but never seen. I would say that the crisis also like that. It has always been there with us, but we never see, we never wanted to see it, right? So in this case, I don't see any current political constellation, the current political party system, and current democratic model in this country will make a genuine effort to change this system. Because like Marx says, capitalist class is innocent. I mean, they're helpless because they have to exploit by being. I mean, as long as they continue to exploit and MS wealth, they can stay in the capitalist class. Similarly, the politicians, we need to be like deceive and also like to depoliticize society for their own survival. So I don't see that politician will have any stomach for like any system change. So as a result, they will become more and more professional in terms of electoral engineering, rather than like discussing and coining policies that will enable us to like change the system. I have a few pictures. Some of the news items are recent. Before 1956, not only the SLFP, but everyone else, every other parties or political groups, they offered the the one policy which is single only act, right? And even at from that point onwards, people were talking about those material thing instead of any policies. What you see in below, right, how the then President Mahinda Rajapaksa has increased the public service into 1.5 million, right? Now very same people are laughing at them and also humiliating them, calling them with names, right? So this is where I would like to end my presentation. So the political culture and the electoral rationality that led us to the crisis, because we know that what we have having seen but yet failed to avert is the political culture. So I don't believe that that will be the path for us to come out of the crisis. So what has really brought us into this situation may not really take us out of this situation. But whereas the parliament under Vikram Singh, and particularly Ranil Vikram is the current president, I don't think he agrees with me. They believe that despite failing since 1977 as a young cabinet minister, having failed so many times, having been part of all these crises, I think they still believe that they are the ones who can rescue the Sri Lankans as well. So, so therefore, they have intentions to transcend from this problematic political ethos. Of course, they don't have capacity, because moment they change it, they cease to exist. Neither they have intentions, because their mind works in that way. So therefore, I argue that the current parliament will not be the catalyst for future. Current parliament will pick reforms for politics rather than politics for reform. What we need now is a politics for reform, even if it is painful. So you need particular politics that will push us to go through that path to come out of this tunnel. But instead of that, what is happening in the parliament, they basically use reforms to play politics. So that is exactly why I argue that we seriously need an alternative political space. And I'm very optimistic than ever before. The possibility of creating and forming that alternative political space. It may be, you may not have it overnight, but it is in making. So we as the academic community, we have a great role and to contribute to this. We'll have to really make them, feed them, we'll have to provide them the intellectual basis on citizenship, representation, the democracy, and how to live as a citizen in this country. In order, once these people get together, for them to form this alternative form. I'm very certain that in the current parliament will not going to take us out of this crisis soon, but instead of that, they will push us through a lot of difficult policies that we'll have to suffer a lot. And as a result, there's always a possibility of another wave of the people movement where the youth citizenship on those fundamentals that can really change the voters who function within the realm of private sphere, how we can change them into citizens who would function within the public sphere. So with that, I think with that note, and with that, I think highlighting the role that we have to play, I would love to end my speech, and I must thank once again Professor Farah Hanifa and to be the keynote speech. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your insightful talk, sir. We will bring the inauguration ceremony to a close with a vote of thanks by Ms. Lakshi Hariharan, Secretary of the Symposium and Lecturer, Department of Sociology, University of Colombo.
ඔබට බෙහෙවින්ම ස්තුති ආචාර්යතුමනි. ඊළඟට පර්යේෂණ සැසියේ සමාරම්භ කුල්ලේ අවසානයේ සනිටුවන් කරමින් ස්තුති කතාව සිදු කිරීම සඳහා පර්යේෂණ සැසියේ ලේකම් සහ කොළඹ විශ්වවිද්‍යාලයේ සමාජ විද්‍යා අධ්‍යනාංශයේ කතිකාචාර්ය ලක්ෂි හරිහරන් මහත්මියට අප ඉතාමත් ගෞරවයෙන් යුතුව ආරාධනා කර සිටිනවා.
Thank you. Good morning all. On behalf of the organizing committee, it is my privilege to give the vote of thanks on this very special occasion of the International Research Symposium 2022, organized by the Department of Sociology, University of Colombo. I take this opportunity to express our thanks and gratitude to Dr. Pradeep Piris, Head of Department of Political Science and the Public Policy, and the keynote speaker of today's event, for graciously accepting our invitation and consenting to be our keynote speaker. Sir, your presence today is a great source of motivation for all of us. Thank you for your invaluable contribution to this event, with your innovative thoughts and for stimulating our theme of this year's symposium, Contemporary Uncertainties in South Asian Society. Thank you very much. We express our sincere thanks and gratitude to Senior Professor H.D. Karunaratne, Vice Chancellor, University of Colombo, and heartfelt thanks to Professor M.P.P. Dharmadasa, Acting Vice Chancellor, University of Colombo. Thank you very much, sir. Our sincere thanks to Senior Professor Lasanda Manavadu, Dean, Faculty of Arts, University of Colombo, for his invaluable contribution to the organization of the event. And our hearty thanks to Professor Chandana Alukhe, Acting Dean, Faculty of Arts, University of Colombo, for representing the Dean and addressing the event. Thank you, sir. It is a great pleasure to express our thanks to Senior Professor Premakumara De Silva, Chair and Senior Professor, Department of Sociology, University of Colombo, for addressing the gathering. Head Department of Sociology, University of Colombo, for your guidance and motivation from the beginning up to now of this event. Thank you very much, madam. It's our pleasure, all our presenters and the chairpersons who are chairing the sessions today. Our special thanks to Dr. Darcy Doratania, Head Department of History, University of Colombo, and Mr. Krishant Srivatana, Lecturer, Journalism Unit, University of Colombo, for agreeing to be the chairpersons of this symposium session and revealing aspects. Thank you very much. There are many behind of this event. We are thankful to Dr. Shamini Chandran, Senior Lecturer, Department of Political Science and Public Policy, University of Colombo, Ms. Fatima Sanas, Lecturer, Journalism, University of Colombo, Mr. Esther Surendra Raja, Senior Lecturer, Department of English, University of Colombo, Coordinator, Faculty of Arts, and System Analyst, Department of Geography, University of Colombo, for supporting us with all website-related works. Thank you, madam. Our sincere thanks to Mr. Daksana Disanayaka and Mr. Asitanchana Vatuvantuduva for helping us throughout the symposium to organize the symposium using Zoom platform. Our heartfelt thank you to both of you. Further, I should mention our very own department staff members, both academic and non-academic staff, who supported in various ways to bring this symposium together. Thank you very much. Lastly, I must thank all who have joined today. We welcome you and is grateful for your presence. Wish you all the very best and hope you have the productive symposium today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Lakshmi. We will begin the sessions at 11 a.m. The relevant Zoom links for the sessions are available in our program. You can access the program at our department website. We have also shared the program in the chat box for you to download. We hope you have an engaging and insightful symposium. Thank you very much.
ස්තුති කතිකාචාර්යතුමියනි. පෙරවරු 11ට අපගේ පරීක්ෂණ සැසිවාරය ආරම්භ කරන අතර ඒ සඳහා අදාළ අන්තර්ජාල සබඳිගත අපගේ දෙපාර්තමේන්තු වෙබ් අඩවිය ඔස්සේ ඔබට ප්‍රවේශ විය හැකියි. ඔබට වඩාත් හරවත් සහ සිත්කද ගන්නාසුළු පරීක්ෂණ සැසියක අත්දැකීම් ලබාගත හැකි වේයයි අප අපේක්ෂා කරනවා. අපගේ සමාරම්භ කුරල් සමගින් සම්බන්ධ වූ ඔබ සියලුම දෙනාට බෙහෙවින්ම ස්තුතියි.
காலை 11 மணிக்கு ஆய்வு அமர்வுகள் ஆரம்பிக்கப்பட உள்ளன. அமர்வுகளுடன் தொடர்புடைய ஜூம் இணைப்புகள் பகிரப்பட்டுள்ளன. எங்கள் சமூகவியல் துறையின் வலைப்பக்கத்திலும் நீங்கள் அவற்றை காணலாம். நீங்கள் பதிவிறக்கம் செய்வதற்கு வசதியாக ஜூம் உள்பட்டியலும் நிகழ்ச்சி நிரலை பகிர்ந்திருக்கின்றோம். இவ் ஆய்வு கருத்தரங்கமானது உங்களை ஈடுபாட்டுடனும் அறிவுபூர்வமுள்ளதாகவும் வைத்திருக்கும் என்று நம்புகின்றோம். நன்றி, வணக்கம்.